So let me get this straight. One day, David Eby is calling an Alberta oil pipeline through northern BC a figment of imagination, like it's some sort of fever dream Danielle Smith had after eating too much beef. The next day, he's sitting there, tie slightly loosened, reading through a 2,200-word federal-provincial deal that's more detailed than most people's wedding vows, and suddenly that figment is looking pretty solid. Welcome back to Canadian Insights, where today we're watching Premier Eby go through what can only be described as the 5 stages of pipeline grief, speedrun edition. Now, I know what you're thinking. Another pipeline drama? In Canada? Shocking. It's like finding out there's snow in January or that someone's complaining about Rogers. But stick with me here, because this story has everything. Political whiplash, legal reality checks, suddenly diplomatic David Eby, and the question nobody saw coming. Wait, are we actually talking about building more refineries now? Here's the tea. Ottawa and Alberta just dropped an agreement that reads like a project management textbook had a baby with a legal document. We're talking whereases, objectives, commitments, conditions, targets, and a point-by-point implementation schedule that would make your high school group project coordinator weep with joy. Prime Minister Carney and Premier Smith basically showed up with receipts, footnotes, and probably a Gantt chart. And Eby? Well, Eby had to do something no politician ever wants to do. He had to admit he was wrong. Not in those exact words, obviously, because this is politics, not therapy, but close enough. The man straight up acknowledged that BC has basically zero legal power to stop this thing if Ottawa decides to push the green button. His proof? Trans Mountain. You know, that other pipeline saga that lasted longer than most Marvel franchises. BC challenged it, took it to court, lawyers probably bought summer homes with the billable hours, and BC lost. So now Eby's standing there like someone who just realized they can't return something without a receipt, saying yeah, if the federal government wants this pipeline, they can impose it on us. But here's where it gets interesting. While Eby's basically waving the white flag on the legal front, he's pointing to someone who actually has leverage. Coastal First Nations. And honestly? Smart move. These communities have consultation rights that aren't just suggestions, they're constitutional requirements. You can't just roll a pipeline through their territory like you're playing Monopoly and land it on Park Place. Eby's entire strategy right now is apparently one bullet point long. Get Carney to sit down with Coastal First Nations and figure out if this project even has a prayer of getting their support. It's like he's saying, look, I can't stop this train, but maybe the people who actually live on the tracks can. Which is either brilliant political judo or an admission that is completely out of moves. Probably both. Now here's where David Eby becomes the most fascinating character in this entire saga. Because suddenly, this guy who's been treating the pipeline like it's Voldemort, something we don't speak of, is out here brainstorming solutions. He's talking about oil spill response resources, which, fair, because if you're going to have oil moving through your province, you probably want more than a handful of paper towels and good intentions standing by. But then he drops this absolute curveball. Why is BC importing oil and gas from the US? Could we increase refining capacity? Maybe this could be, and I quote, a win for everybody here? I'm sorry, what? Did David Eby just suggest building more oil infrastructure as a compromise? Someone check if hell froze over. Or if we've entered an alternate timeline. Because the same guy who was calling this pipeline imaginary is now floating the idea of expanding Canada's refining capacity like he's pitching a business opportunity on Dragon's Den. And you know what? He's not entirely wrong. Canada is somehow the kid at the lemonade stand who grows lemons but buys lemonade from the neighbor. We export crude, import refined products, and pay for the privilege. It's objectively ridiculous when you think about it for more than 30 seconds. Then comes my favorite part of this entire press conference. A reporter, doing the Lord's work, asks Eby why he sounds less angry and more resigned. And Eby, in a moment of either brutal honesty or complete exhaustion, just goes, "You're right. I'm not angry today." Can we appreciate this for a second? A politician admitting they've moved from rage to acceptance? That's character development you don't usually see outside of premium cable dramas. He basically looked into the camera and said, yeah, I've processed my feelings, gone through the stages of grief, and landed on understanding. His reasoning? Danielle Smith has political imperatives for the United Conservative Party. Carney needs to de-escalate with Alberta. Everyone's got their motivations, their pressures, their constituency to please. It's almost philosophical. Like he's reached some sort of pipeline enlightenment. He's not mad at Smith for doing Smith things. He gets it. It's politics. It's the game. But let's zoom out for a second, because this whole situation is peak Canadian politics. You've got federal-provincial tensions, Indigenous rights, environmental concerns, economic interests, and enough legal complexity to keep law students busy for semesters. It's like someone took every contentious issue in Confederation, threw them in a blender, and poured out a pipeline project. The real question now is what happens next. Because agreements are great, implementation schedules are wonderful, but between signature and shovels in the ground lies a minefield of consultations, environmental assessments, legal challenges, and political wildcards. We've seen projects with less controversy take decades. Projects with more support fall apart. Nothing is certain except that we're going to be talking about this for years. And Eby? Well, he's pivoted from resistance fighter to pragmatic negotiator faster than you can say political reality. Whether that's wisdom or weakness depends entirely on who you ask and probably which province they're asking from. So there you have it. David Eby's very public journey from this pipeline is fake to okay it's real, now what? It's a masterclass in political adaptation, or depending on your perspective, a cautionary tale about making absolute statements in a relative world. What do you think? Is Eby being pragmatic or did he fold too quickly? Are his ideas about refineries actually smart or just desperate pivoting? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and hey, if you're somehow not subscribed to Canadian Insights yet, fix that right now because we're covering Canadian politics daily and trust me, it never stops being this entertaining. Hit that like button if you appreciated Eby's honesty about not being angry, and I'll catch you in the next video where we'll probably be discussing whatever fresh political chaos tomorrow brings. Because this is Canada, and the drama never sleeps.